Some big news coming in. The Indian Army sources tell us that disengagement between troops of India and China has been completed. In fact, it was completed today at patrolling point 15 in Galwan. The Chinese troops have moved back approximately 2 kilometers. This is big news coming in from the Indian Army sources. Disengagement between troops of India and China has been completed today at patrolling point 15 in Galwan. The Chinese troops have moved back approximately by 2 kilometers. Remember, there was a thorough screening and investigation, on-ground verification process that was going on to find out if indeed the Chinese troops had pulled back. And here we get some strong information coming in on the Chinese troops that they have pulled back by 2 kilometers. Abhishek Balla to take us through the details on this. Abhishek, big information coming in by the Indian Army sources. Disengagement between troops of India and China that's completed today at patrolling point 15 in Galwan. And we believe that Chinese troops have pulled back approximately 2 kilometers.
Well, this is as per the discussions that took place at various meetings at the military level as well as at the diplomatic level. First, it was patrolling point 14 in Galwan, which was the biggest flashpoint after the 15 June clash took place, where Indian Army lost 20 soldiers. The Chinese Army also faced losses, even though they did not make it public. All friction points need to be disengaged. That is what has been discussed. And both sides will pull back by 1.5 to 2 kilometers. And that spot of the face-off is what is being described as a buffer zone. But it remains to be seen as far as the rare areas are concerned, whether the de-induction of heavy armor and the big mobilization that has taken place from both sides, when will that come down? Until that happens, of course, it's a bit of a breather, but physical verification at all these points will be carried out in days to come to make sure that the disengagement happens first, then the de-escalation, and finally the process of de-induction.
Well, apart from this piece of information coming in on the fact that they may have moved 2 kilometers from the point of clash that happened in June 15th, has there been any move from the Indian Army there to pull back as yet? We can't take the Chinese face value. The verification process is currently underway to see if this is in fact the truth, that they pulled back by 2 kilometers. Nonetheless, we believe that the Indian Army, Indian Air Force have not let their guard down.
No, certainly not. You know, the situation still remains volatile and there's no question of letting the guard down. And as per the agreements, it's not just the Chinese army, even the Indian army will have to retreat. And that's the idea behind this disengagement, that, you know, the troops from both sides were in extremely close proximity to each other. Just meters away, there was a mobilization of 1,000 to 1,500 troops at every friction point. So by them moving out, it ensures that that proximity, you know, that gap increases, and there isn't a chance of a physical brawl like it's happened in the past. So it's done to make sure that those physical assaults do not take place. But it doesn't mean that tensions have eased. The heavy armor, the military mobilization, the artillery that was brought close to the line of actual control still remains in those areas, even though at the line of actual control, the structures, the tents in some of the places in Galwan that the Chinese had put up, they have been removed. But the Pangong Lake, which is perhaps the biggest flashpoint, still remains a concern. There has been a slight thinning of troops from the Chinese side, but there are still no signs of a de-escalation or a major disengagement, if one can say, at Finger 4 area of Pangong Lake, which has always been under Indian control. But it was the Chinese who came and built up structures, trying to change status quo. So that remains a big concern, because India wouldn't want to pull back from that area, because that would mean giving up the possession of Finger 4 area, which has always been under Indian control.
Right. Abhishek, thank you very much for joining us with those details.